Morgan Reagan. You feeling the vibes right now?
Yes.
You hear the squeaks of the hardwood?
That I can hear it.
Is that how it sounds? Is that good? Do your squeaking of the hardwood.
No, that sounds like a mouse. No, it's
I had it. My ex-girlfriend in high school hated basketball because of the squeaks.
Really? That's like, and then you dumped her ass.
I dumped her. Just kidding. Training camp gets underway next week, but with all the reports from Frankie Cardicelli in Sacramento, Brendan Nunez, and of course James Ham, we have been able to put together the official 21-man roster for Sacramento Kings training camp. So yeah, you get 21, but by opening night, that has to go down to 15 plus 3 two-way contracts. Well, Sacramento currently has 14 guaranteed deals.
Okay.
Plus the 3 two-way contracts right now. And they invited 4 people to camp, including a couple of guys that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
Deontay Burton, who played last year for the Stockton Kings. In fact, he got a 10-day contract with Sacramento. Chance Comanche, who is with the Stockton Kings, the G League. And Jeremy Lamb, remember him?
I do remember him.
He came over in the Sabonis deal. He did not play in the league last year, had some workouts. And then they also added Jalen Noel. So those 4 guys could be competing for that final roster spot. Kings could also just waive all of them and just leave that open spot for later down the road. But let's kind of talk about some of those guys, Morgan. Jalen Noel is one of the interesting names. He's been a free agent. Spent his first 4 seasons with Minnesota. Shooting guard, 6'4". He can get buckets. Last year was not good for him in Minnesota at all. But you see why the Kings would be intrigued with him. A guy who can get into the paint, finish at the rim, can be kind of that microwave scorer. I mean, I get why they want to take a look.
The year before last, his potential, the way he was shooting from beyond the arc, he was shooting like 39% from 3. He was showing improvement in his mid-range game. He just showed a lot of high offensive IQ that showed a lot of promise for him, especially on that offensive end. So yeah, I understand why people were like, can this be his breakout year? And then it ended up being a down year for him last year.
It was really disappointing too, because the thought was, oh, he's going to get an opportunity, right? The Rudy Gobert trade cleared some roster spots and allowed him to have a greater role. And he just couldn't find consistency. And we talk about that a lot in the league. It's like, hey, you see these flashes. Dude, this league is talented. Okay, we watch G League games, you watch NBA games. There's so much talent. What's the difference between like a role player and a starter, and a starter and a really legit all-star, all-star to great? It's doing it consistently.
Yep.
And he just never found that rhythm this year. So in Minnesota 4 years, an opportunity to come to a team in Sacramento where he could fight for that final spot. I don't know if Sacramento is going to end up filling that spot, but it makes a lot of sense for them to take a look at someone who's still young and has showed the potential to do things that they like. They like guys who can create their own shot.
Yes.
And they don't have a lot on that team right now. You think about last year, De'Aaron Fox can get a bucket, right?
Right.
Attack the paint and create something. Malik Monk, very good at that. And even Terrence Davis, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Terrence Davis is not on this team this year. And you look at someone like Jalen Noel, who's shown those flashes of getting to the paint and being able to finish with both hands.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's take a look and see what he's about.
There's something there.
That's what training camp's for. It's like a risk-free look at someone.
Yep. That's what I like about it. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to training camp and everything.
Are you about to sneeze?
No,
or are you like, getting emotional?
There is something in the back of my throat as I was finishing that sentence. I'm just so excited for training camp. Now, going to Jeremy Lamb, like obviously we've seen him before, like you said, for his
back in his early days, he was a bad man.
Do lambs
ba?
Do they?
Ba? No, it's ba.
Ba. Is that a goat?
It was
ba.
I thought lamb.
No, I think you're right. I think in Babe they are the ba ram you.
This is so stupid.
This
is so stupid.
Okay. So Jeremy Lamb.
Yes, Jeremy Lamb. Let's go back to Jeremy Lamb for a second. So he didn't even play in the NBA last year, but like, look, he's been around. The thing with Jeremy Lamb over the years, he just hasn't stayed healthy. He's shown potential over the years. He is 31 years old now. I mean, maybe there's a world where you go, look, he's a vet in this league and he had a year to heal up his body a little bit and not have the wear and tear. As long as he was training and he did some workouts for NBA teams. We are going so hyper-focused on talking about the potential of a 15th roster spot.
Correct.
This person may not be playing a lot of games for your team anyway, but you're trying to fill it out. Yeah, Jeremy Lamb, like, you get why. One, they know him. They've traded for him in that Sabonis deal. Sabonis knows him. There's connections around with Jeremy Lamb. So I understand why they would take a look at him. I think one of the surprising things about the training camp roster, I was surprised they didn't bring in another point guard. Because last year, remember, you had Fox, Davion Mitchell, and then in training camp, you had the big-time battle. Matthew Dellavedova against Quinn Cook. Remember that?
Yeah.
And this year, Delly's back in the NBL, and Quinn Cook is not on a training camp roster, I don't think, at the moment. The Kings signed Jordan Ford to a two-way deal. And maybe that's just what they're comfortable with. They're like, we have enough guys who can handle on this team, including Malik Monk, that maybe they don't feel like they need a third point guard at the moment.
Yeah, and that's always... But here's the other interesting thing, too, and I know we'll probably get more and more into this as the season goes on. It's like when you have a good team full of good players, there's so much positionless basketball, right? Like in our minds, we keep going like, who's that third point guard? Who's that third point guard? When it's just like what we're saying. Why can't it be staggering and be Malik Monk at times? Yeah. Especially because...
Colby Jones is handled in college a little bit.
Yes, there are pieces on this team that can manage a team. Sure, you're not a true point guard, but I don't think Mike Brown is trying to go with a lot of traditional plays the way that he wants to go with early offense and all of his other sets. So, yeah, either way, I'm excited for some of these names. I don't even think we talked about Chance Comanche when that was mentioned, but you and I have called a lot of his games in the G League, and I just love his energy.
And the reason I didn't spend much time on it, just to be honest, is the Kings have a ton of bigs. That, at that spot, the center spot. He's an energy big, good at running the floor, rim runner, can dunk on you. I love what he brings. The problem is for him on this roster is Sabonis, JaVale McGee, Alex Len, Trey Lyles.
This is just great experience. I guess I'm just happy about the experience for him.
That's awesome.
Deontay Burton, same kind of situation.
The last thing I have thinking about training camp, because, we're talking about battling potentially for a 15th spot. Do you think that Mike Brown is going into the camp with the mindset that we're going to have the same starting five as last year? Like, is there a world where, and maybe he's not open with this, but I'm just speculating here. Is there a battle between Harrison Barnes and Sasha? Is there a battle between Herter and Monk? And based on...
Of course there is, Deuce.
Monk and what he did in the playoffs. I mean, he went from a guy that in the regular season, 22 minutes a night off the bench, huge spark, could create, pick and roll. We know what Malik Monk can do. But he started playing like 30 minutes a night in the playoffs. I'm not, you got to be careful. 7-game sample size. But do you think that there are some position battles going
100%.
You do? You don't think it's set?
You guys, do not be naive to this. This is, sports. And this isn't like, wait. And it's not like you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, and all these like specific names that if they're not a starter or if they're not six man, then they're like going to be upset. Those egos, one, aren't on this roster, but two, aren't allowed to be on this roster.
So obviously Fox guaranteed starter. Is that
Fox
safe for you?
Okay. We can go safe. We can go safe with Keegan.
So there's 3. You're saying that in your mind, the shooting guard and the forward spot with Barnes, that could be up for grabs.
Maybe, but here's the other thing too. Like if for some reason like Keegan wasn't on his A game 10 games through the season, but my point is Mike Brown would not be afraid to be like, nope, I'm not doing that. Fix your shit and then you'll get back at, like, he's the type of coach that just understands how to play winning basketball no matter who is in what position.
Yeah, but he really didn't, like early on last year, like KZ Okpala, crazy to think he started ahead of Keegan Murray.
Right.
KZ, got hurt last year, not in the NBA at the moment, but that lineup was set. It was Fox, Herter, Keegan, HB, and Sabonis. I'm very curious. That's, I think, one of the big questions I'm thinking about headed into training camp.
That's fine.
Are there any position battles, or does Mike Brown go, I saw 82 games plus 7-game sample size in the playoffs. Through 82, I saw a team that had the number 1 offensive rating in the NBA with that starting lineup. This is the starting lineup we're starting the season with. Or are there some legit battles? I'm intrigued to see.
Well, I guess we got a lot of questions coming up at training camp next week.
What are your Kings-related training camp questions? Let us know in the comments below. Are there any camp battles in your mind, or are you going, no, you start the same starting 5? Let us know, and make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe.